Listen, yeah. Hello.
Recording
Um,
in progress.
Me too. It would be lovely to see you in person, but this is better than nothing. And I have to apologize. I'm in the foyer of the Everyman Broadgate because we have launched a soundtrack and film club with Everyman. And I'm about to do a screening of John Batiste's new film, American Symphony, which
Oh, yes.
when it's the most beautiful thing. So you have to watch it. You will love
Okay.
it.
I will. I will.
Yeah.
Amazing. But look at you. Look at soundtracking just going up and up and up. The sky's the limit, you
Oh,
know?
well, it's just nice to continue the conversation about film and music. My favorite, your favorite.
Absolutely my favorite. I mean, the reason I'm probably here doing the thing that I'm doing, truthfully. Um,
Um, oh my God, this new season, Tom. Oh my giddy aunt. It's God, it's so many things. It's brilliant. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Means a huge amount
Uh,
coming from you.
But and it's also that thing though, the investment that you have in this character. And I was lucky enough to speak to one of your producers and Dan, who directed episode 2,
Yes. Was it
about
Kevin, right?
yeah,
Kevin. Yeah. Kevin and
and
Dan. Great men.
and just hearing from them kind of your commitment to the whole package of this, not just your character, to the world that this show has given us as fans, and how it's portrayed, how each character is portrayed, all that. You're
Mm.
just as a producer, you've taken that responsibility really seriously, and it's so wonderful to hear that from other people and also to watch that as well.
I've loved it, honestly. I've loved that extra uh, room in the house, that
Yeah.
extra kind of responsibility on the journey. It really feels like so much more rewarding
Mm-hmm.
to I guess to be in the room where it happens and to have a place at the table in development, in the writing, in the conception, in pre-production, all the way through filming. And it's I think sometimes it's just lovely to be part of the conversation. And I hope it's useful to everyone else that I have played the character for so long. And obviously it's Loki's journey, but it's also the journey of other characters, some of whom are mirrors of Loki. But I've also just been on these sets for a while. And so I know how I have experiences of my favorite and sort of I feel like my most fulfilling and fruitful times on set. And then actually less so, but there are a few like times when I'll be like, oh, there's a blockage here, or why isn't this working? And helping just have the experience, helping to others to understand this is the best. If we set ourselves up in this way,
Mm.
if we keep the creative conversation flowing in this way, if the practical machinery of production is we lay the track so that we can the train can just run, then we'll have a great time. And I hope that's where I'm useful. But
Did
yeah,
you How important was you for you though, considering the journey you've been on with this character, to be involved in how this particular season would end? I don't want to spoil anything for anyone as well, but it is the most euphoric kind of, I think, ending to this
thank you.
season, in terms of example of a character who has learned, who
Yes.
has who has listened, who has grown, who has changed. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a particular line that you say about friendship, about I miss my friends, or I that, and I that like almost broke me. It was like, wow, there's a character who's had a journey and who's learned. In
Yeah.
terms of the arc and where he would end up at the end of the season, was that important for you to have a voice in that sense, in terms of you know what he's taken on
Hugely,
board along the journey?
hugely. I always, from the very moment of when I was first cast in the first film, directed by Kenneth Branagh and written by Don Payne, who's no longer with us, um, the late great Don Payne. I always saw Loki as a broken soul,
Mm.
and I wanted to find. And then there are iterations of his fragmentation all the way through those early movies. but I wanted to find a way back to his soul, the soulfulness of it, that actually Loki, as I played him, arrived as a character wrestling with ideas of belonging, identity, and purpose. And in the early phase of the MCU, he's sort of becomes isolated largely by himself and by his grievance. But in the beginning of season 1, he's given a second chance by Mobius and sort of secondarily by the TVA to re-examine that glorious purpose, to redefine it. And I wanted to find a way back to the kind of clarity of what's important to him, which is identity, belonging, and purpose. And that with these characters, these new characters, they have shown him who he is, who he can be. They've shown him a new idea of purpose, and they've shown him who he belongs to. And that felt really gratifying to bring it full circle. There's a poem I know maybe Kevin and Dan talked about, that you'll know it, The Four Quartets by T.S. Eliot. And in the writer's room, I kept just quoting at length from this play, this great text. But I brought it not randomly. It's like a seminal work of literature about time, about grief, about integrating the past and the present so you can move into the future. And it's very metaphorical. And so it bears the weight of any interpretation. But there's one passage which I remember quoting to Kevin Wright and Eric Martin, the head writer, which is, "We shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place first time." And I found that was like, how do we get there? And we just kept talking about how to get there. Also, the first quartet opens with the stanza, "Time present and time past are both perhaps present in time future, and time future contained in time past." And maybe that sort of became time slipping. And, we made this thing about time. And so I'm getting lost down a T.S. Eliot wormhole here. But yes, in
we could
some...
sing Cats in a minute if you want. That's fine.
Okay. Yeah. but yes, in summary, it was really important to finish with that circularity, to bring it circle to. I find it very moving. I find the idea of for any character, I think we can all relate to that. We all would like to feel that we are in charge of our own story.
Yeah.
That we're not just living a life that was determined by our upbringing or nature or nurture or our environment, that actually we are in control of our own destiny. That's really important in all of our lives. And also making peace with our mistakes, acknowledging them, owning them, taking responsibility for them, for missteps or wrong turns or the wrong choices. Loki's made a whole bunch of wrong choices. And that only once you have integrated that into yourself, only once you've understood and acknowledged all that, can you then rewrite the story and take your life into your own hands. And I think the fact that it's Loki doing that is just so interesting. This chaotic being, this mischievous element, I think that's cool. I hope people find that they can relate to that. Free will wins in the end.
Well, absolutely as well. And that notion of kind of going back to do things differently for others as opposed to it being for yourself. So I kind of love the selflessness about a lot of his actions, and that's something that the character would never have done, like, kind of previously. And then I was thinking about the conversation that we had previously about music and Loki, and the places that you would go musically to kind of get in the mood for him. And we talked about stuff like Prodigy, Firestarter, and it's like, He's not that guy anymore.
He's not that guy anymore.
He's
No,
not that guy anymore.
yeah. He's lived long enough.
His musical choices have changed. What's he
Totally.
listening to? Yeah.
Totally changed. What's he listening to now? What is he? Well, I can tell you what I was listening to. I don't know what he's listening to. He is probably listening to Anything and Everything by Natalie Holt. That's where he is. Yeah, it's just
surpassed all expectations, but especially that last episode. Oh my gosh.
No, she's elevated and embellished everything. I mean, it's just, she's made everything seem poetic in a way that I could only have dreamed of. It's so beautiful. What did I listen to? I found myself actually on the set. Sometimes I would listen to a bunch of stuff. We listened to lots of Natalie. There's a track from season 1 called Back in the TVA, which is very haunting. And sometimes when Loki would have, when actually the group was supposed to be watching something or hearing something together, in a way to kind of synchronize our imaginations, I would play Back in the TVA, or there was another one from the season 1 called Lamentis 2077, which is very propulsive and very bombastic. And I remember there's the chase sequence at the beginning of episode 2 through the streets of London and the West End at night with Raphael Casal. I was like, Raphael, this is how fast we got to go. And he was like, it's so dead. And that was like in the tunnels underneath Somerset House. And in these little alleyways. There's a crypt underneath Somerset House. And so we're literally running underneath where the ice rink goes in the summer, so very short nights. But it was like endless sprinting with dress shoes on, listening to
naturally.
Yeah. And then sometimes actually I would play I find this very euphoric track by Daft Punk called Contact. It's from is it Discovery? It's the It's the same. No, it's not Discovery. It's Random Access Memories, I think.
Random Access Memory, yeah.
It is on that. It's the same one as Get Lucky, the same album as Get Lucky.
Better quickly have a look.
This is the great scholar of music that you are, that you need to know.
Oh my God. Oh, I should know that. I should definitely know that.
It's the last track on
Random Access Memory. Yeah.
Random Access Memories. Quite a good sort of subheading for an essay on Loki, by the way. Random Access Memories. Also Contact. Only Connect, Making Contact. Anyway, it sounds like it's this very major key. It starts off with, I think, some real audio of those astronauts who were first landed on the moon in space, and then it's just got this major key progression of euphoria and excitement, and then this drum track comes in, which makes me feel like I just want to sprint. And I definitely use some of that for the beginning of episode 6 of just keep going, faster. Again. So have a listen to Contact, because it's amazing. And you will want to run home after this interview.
It's a long run to Gloucestershire, but I'll give it a go.
Okay. I'm trying to think what else. There was, I went to see Coldplay at Wembley during the filming of this season. And
isn't it magical, that show? Oh my gosh.
Absolutely stunning. Again, a kind of sky-piercing, transcendent night. At least it was when we went. And seeing some of their more kind of... Also, I feel like I'm just such a fan, I think you know that, of them. But to hear some of the grace notes that they've put on some of their classics, and the way they play those songs live. So sometimes I would listen to Fix You live in the makeup bus. Fix You is pretty great for this season.
And Cry? Oh my God, yeah. Oh my God, yeah, totally. Do you do the pretend swinging the light around? Like
absolutely, always do the pretend swinging the light. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, the bridge is kind of that moment when it goes from the chorus into the bridge, and you hear Johnny on the guitar. Yeah, yeah, that's like
Yeah.
that's just
Then the
unmistakable.
drums come in.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The tears stream down your face. It's
Ooh.
like, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to make
Um,
you do that right now. It's like, how can you make me do that? But it's
yeah.
happening.
I'm trying to think what
Literally.
else we listened to. Sometimes actually when they were like, um, you know that scene in I think it's episode 4 where everyone's huddled around OB's scale model of the loom and the gangway and everything. I would play this track from Top Gun Maverick called Dark Star. I know you've spoken to those guys as well.
Oh my God, yeah. And I got to speak to Eddie Hamilton, who's the editor, and Cecile
Yeah.
Tournesac, who's the music producer. And we did a deep dive into that whole world of those two working together. Oh, it was like, oh,
The
it
music
was
in that film
so
is like,
oh,
yeah, it's extraordinary. So it's a really good. Funny enough, I kind of would walk on set and I would play a piece of music to sort of get us all together, and like Owen and Key and Sophia, they were like, "This is really exciting. I like this music. Feels like we're coming up with a great plan." And I was like, "That's the idea." Um,
that's
and
awesome.
Yeah, so it was
Oh,
that kind
you and Owen as well, and it's like it's beautiful as well. The especially at the start, where it's almost like a kind of like old school detective partnership
yes,
at times.
yes.
It's so great. It's really, really beautiful.
Thank you so much. He is
Yeah.
brilliant, and his capacity for invention, he just makes everything better, and he will always put a spin on it that you couldn't have seen. You present him with something and he'll gild it with some perfect line that is the only choice. And he's so good and so spontaneous. And I was really grateful. I think we had Dan, I think, has talked about this. We had Kevin and I almost insisted on, we must have like 4 weeks before we start and get everybody in a room, and lots of coffee and bananas, and read this stuff out loud, and sort of see if these are the right versions of the things that they might say. And Owen would just say stuff. I mean, everything he's in, really. All that stuff with Key when he meets OB, all the stuff with us. And we realized he had a great phrase, which he said, he complimented Eric, the writer, and he said, "I really love it when there's teeth in the dialogue," which is to say, like, Mobius and Loki, I hope, are fun to watch, but actually, when you keep the teeth in, you realize that they're not necessarily, if you analyzed it, Loki and Mobius are not necessarily having a great time. They're in passionate disagreement about everything. And it's almost a sort of like, you're doing it like this, and I think we should do it like this. No, that's the wrong way to do it. It's like they're sort of trying to find the answer together, but they're always debating it. And that, I think, that was a really good insight from Owen, because of course he's a great writer. He came into this profession as a writer, with Bottle Rocket and Wes Anderson. So yeah, Owen is amazing.
I'm not going to ask you if there's going to be any more, because that will present itself as and when it needs to, if it is going to be the case. Because I think we've had the most delicious kind of menu of Loki so far with this season, and I actually can't wait to watch it all again.
You're so kind.
No, one of those like really awful weather days where you just want to put the fire on and sit and watch and go, yeah, because you can.
It's there.
But yeah, exactly. But it's just been a brilliant journey to be on, up until this point, and whatever's next is next, or not.
Thank
and
you.
I feel like you've just given the characters such a journey in itself, in terms of, if you think about where we first experienced Loki and who he was, like I was saying earlier, to where we see him at the end of this. And it's so interesting you mentioning that T.S. Eliot poem, the first one that you recited, and then just thinking about that look on that look that you give to camera at the end of the last episode and stuff, and it's those words, it's everything that's in that poem, and that it's almost in that facial expression, really, in a way.
Exactly. And I have to give credit to the whole team, to my collaborators, to Kevin Wright, Eric Martin, Kasra Farahani, our production designer, who was in the writer's room with us, and also built this whole world. He built the TVA. And then Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead. Also, Kasra directed episode 3, but Justin and Aaron, who came into this having seen the first season, and they were so deferential. They were like, okay, tell us what you're thinking. And they just took the ball and ran with it. They were amazing, absolutely amazing. Their instincts are so sharp. Their storytelling instincts, they kept saying, all we want to do is lean into every character's vulnerability and lean into like where those points of connection and compassion can open up, whether it's Mobius or Sylvie or B15 or Renslayer, and I think Gugu as Renslayer has a really interesting arc in this, but still, like, show us where it hurts. Let's open that up. And then ultimately find who does Loki care about and why does he care? I think actually Aaron came up with this line at the end of episode 5. It's not about what, how or why, it's about who. And we just we're talking about the scene, and he just sort of said it, and it was like, that's what it should be. And obviously the whole cast is amazing. Owen, Sophia
oh my God.
The whole thing, Sophia and I decided that actually the interesting thing, because there's such a fracture at the end of season 1, and they both feel so betrayed by each other, and finding a way back. But the length and the breadth and the depth of their conversation is that they're actually trying to get to the bottom of this idea of purpose. To go back to Loki's original line, I'm burdened with glorious purpose. And what meaning is there in purpose? And how can you derive meaning in your life? For Sylvie, it's like free will, burn the TVA down, free will will thrive. And Loki has to learn that lesson. But Loki's panicking because he's worried that without the TVA, there'll be a terrible war and there'll be no life. So, but in a corresponding way, as Loki and Sylvie are trying to understand their purpose, the TVA as an institution is trying to understand its purpose, having been revealed to be more malevolent and corrupted than it first thought. And so their conversation, Loki and Sylvie, through the whole season is, can broken institutions be reformed for good? And that felt like a thrilling conversation just to keep having. And I think we wanted it to be like that the audience didn't know who was right and who was wrong. And that your sympathy is shifted as you were listening to them. They're like, maybe Sylvie's right. Maybe they should burn the TVA down. Or actually, maybe Loki's right. Maybe the TVA can change. Can a broken institution change, just like can a person? Yeah. So that was interesting too. And then like Wumi Masaku, who's just kind of representing this enormous heart in the show, that she came into the season 1 as this very military, very disciplined character who's just opened up into someone who cares about looking after people. And Ki Hui Kwan coming in as OB, just running laps around everybody, just absolutely as if he's always been there. I mean, it's like he was in the first season, but he wasn't. Yeah. He was tremendous, and he's like a firework of pure joy working with Ki.
Well, I could talk to you about this for hours, but you're a very busy man, and I'm going to let you go. But I just wanted to say congratulations on this, and also congratulations in life as well. And I hope I get to see you in person soon. And it's lovely to see you. And
lovely to see you too. Speak soon.
Much love. Bye.
Bye.